Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting started with identifying random samples. Um, First, we just want to know, is it a random sample or not? We'll talk about why that's actually important a little bit later, but for now, we just need to know if it is random. So you want to estimate the number of students in a high school who ride the school bus. Which sample is a random sample? 4 students in the hallway. So if you just stopped 4 students in the hallway, would that be considered a random sample? All students in the marching band. Would that be considered random sample? 50 seniors. So if you aren't aware, in high school, there's freshman, junior, senior, or freshman, sophomore, and junior, senior. So 9th is freshman, 10th is sophomore, 11th is junior, 12th is senior. So you're just going to stop 50 people who are in 12th grade and then 100 students during lunch. All right, we're going to break these down here. So 4 students in the hallway. So I'm like, this one's, when you're first learning about it, there's a magical number of 30. That's kind of where we start everything. What I mean by that is we kind of want a minimum of 30 people asked at any time for anything we're doing, if we're going to be doing any kind of survey, so we can look at the results and have a good idea. 4 people is not enough people to ask. There is math behind why the reason we say 30. Don't worry about that unless you get into statistics. But a number 30 is really important. Until we hit 30, we haven't asked enough people for it to really have real meaning to us to say, yes, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, here's the order things should be done. Stuff like that. Until we've asked 30 people, it's just not enough people asked for us to be like, oh, that should work for everyone then. Now that number does get bigger depending, but 30 is kind of that magic number, minimum number of people. And so I'm really focusing on that because I want you to remember I need to talk to at least 30 people for it to be a random sample. And so at minimum, the number 30 is not met because we only have done 4. So since 4 is less than 30, A is not a good option. Okay. All right, so next, let's look at all the students in the marching band. Depending on the amount of students in the marching band, this could be good. So I'm going to kind of leave it on there. If you're in a small school and your marching band has less than 30 people, it wouldn't be good. But we're assuming kind of like Union or even smaller schools tend to have at least 50, 60, 70 people in the marching band. So number-wise, it makes sense. But all the students in the marching band, okay, there's some questions I have. We're going to come back to that. We're going to table it. So we're not going to count, we're not going to cross B out yet. We're going to look at the other ones. 50 seniors. Okay. You have to think about this. Seniors in a high school are usually 17 to 18 years old. So they're usually driving, okay? So seniors are 17, 18 years old. That's fact number 1. And fact number 2 is most will be driving or riding with friends. If we take these 2 facts into account, asking them who would ride a bus, almost none of them are going to say, yes, I'm riding the bus. The amount of people would be definitely single digits. So even if you asked 50 people, which meets our more than 30, but it's not affecting them. So it's not really a random sample because you've chosen a category. You've chosen seniors, number 1, but number 2, you're picking people that it doesn't really affect. So their answers aren't valid, I guess is a way to look at, or at least not as valid, but we're going to consider them not valid. So I'm going to say that that option C is not good just because it is a specific group, so it's not random, and they don't really ride the bus, so it doesn't really affect them. So their answers, they could make up any answer they want. Okay. All right, the last one is 100 students during lunch. Now, I leave this one to compare to the lunch as well as the people in marching band, and this is really the two answers. Remember, in a multiple choice, there's usually two answers you can throw away almost instantly, and I've explained why we could instantly throw those two away. Number one, option A doesn't have at least 30 people, got to get rid of it. B has 30 people, but it's not random people. They were specifically seniors. So let's check these two, the one in orange, all students in marching band, and the one in pink, or purplish, violet, I guess, 100 students during lunch. All students in the marching band. Well, in a marching band or in band, when you get to the high school level, it can have some freshmen, some juniors, some senior. You've got a little bit of everybody sprinkled in. So you're going to have some people that it affects and some people that it doesn't. Then when you're asking 100 students during lunch, it seems like it would be the same thing. You know, certain people get out at the same time. In 7th grade, all 7th grade goes because that's what we have, but we don't mix with 6th grade. Oh, there might be a key there. So 100 students during lunch sounds great. It's a lot of people asked, but do we know what grade they're in? We've already discussed that seniors are 17 to 18 years old, so they're less likely to ride the bus. What about juniors? They'd be 1 year younger. That means they're 16 to 17 years old. So they'd probably still be driving too. Okay, sophomores. Sophomores got to be counted, but you can get a permit at 15. So if you went to the Union High School, that's all you have. You have sophomores, juniors, and seniors. A lot of them are probably getting rides or driving because they're of age. So while 100 sounds like a great number, because it's during lunch, and that lunch could only be for sophomores, that lunch may only be for juniors, it may only be for seniors. I haven't been over there at lunch. My guess is it's a little bit of a mix. So it's not really going to affect them. Or, you could have asked during the lunch that's senior heavy or junior heavy or sophomore heavy. So which lunch you ask for could change things. So in all honesty, I would take B, that you're going to ask all students in the marching band. I know what the book wants. The book wants you to answer D. D would be a good answer because you don't have to ask all students, because the idea of a random sample means you don't ask all. So that's the reason they don't want you to choose B, is because it has that word all there and you don't want to ask all, but we're actually not asking all students, we're asking all students in a marching band. Now you could also say that there's a group that could heavily sway because they're all in the marching band. They may all have the same kind of transportation, but the 100 students during lunch could all be seniors for the ones that you ask. So overall, this isn't a great question to ask and be absolutely clear on, but it is a good question to kind of think through all the things and allow us to think about the things that create a random sample. A random sample needs, we'll say, at least 30 people asked. Again, don't worry about where that was a weird word. Don't worry about where that 30 comes from, but it exists. The second thing that needs is, I'm just going to use the word, it needs to be non-biased. If you drive a car you're kind of biased towards riding a bus because it doesn't affect you. So you want to estimate the number of students in high school who ride the school bus. If you ask all the seniors and only 3 people say they ride it, and you estimate, well, 3 out of 50 seniors, and then there's 1,200 students, your numbers are going to be way off. Because what about out of the 50 freshmen you could have asked, 48 of them ride the bus? Those are really big numbers. So you don't want to just ask 50 seniors. There's a bias in the seniors. So a bias may just be a natural bias. Me as a teacher, I'm not going to ride the bus. So if you ask me, hey, do you ride the bus? And because you're trying to estimate how many people ride the bus, you're going to get I'm going to change the actual answer or keep you from making the best estimate or best guess, I guess is the best way to say it. So a bias changes your guess in a negative way. So we don't want bias. Seniors would have a bias. All students, again, the key word is sample, is the idea of not everyone is asked. So you need to ask at least 30 people, but you don't want to ask everyone. Everyone asked is a population, but a sample is a small group within the population. So I know why they don't want you to choose B, but if we took the word all out and said students in the marching band, I think B would be the better answer. They want you to say D, so on this one I would say D. See, sometimes on standardized tests, you really have to pay attention to even one word that's going to change it all, because on a standardized test, I'd want to answer B because it makes the most sense when the word all is out, but D is going to be the correct answer. Hopefully, we've been able to clarify what a random sample actually means. It means you ask at least 30 people. It means that you are not asking a bias or a specific group that it may or may not pertain to, and not everyone is going to be asked. That's what the idea of a sample. All right, take it easy, keep working hard, and we'll see you in class.